Hi everyone, and welcome to your week 6 of your Career Success for Pharmacy Technicians course. This week in your English book, we're going to be looking at 2 chapters. We're going to be looking at Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. Chapter 7 is on adverbs, and Chapter 8 is on prepositions, conjunctions, and interjections. So an adverb is... I like to think of it similar to an adjective, where an adjective is descriptive of a thing. An adverb is a description of something that's happening. So they're not with nouns and pronouns like adjectives are. Instead, they are modifying the verb. So they're going to talk about things like being very quick or, things like that. So that's what adverbs are all about. Prepositions, conjunctions, and interjections are connectors. These are things that connect one part of your sentence to another, and things like that. So those are the 2 chapters that you're going to be covering in the English textbook. And then in the other textbook, what you're going to be covering is steps 6 and 7 of the healthcare interviewing process. The healthcare interviewing process. So the actual interview is what we're going to cover in Chapter 6. So this is, what you might expect during an interview, some of the do's and don'ts of an interview, and some activities. And they give you a case study and things like that. So what are you going to expect in an interview? At first, it's obviously you're going to introduce yourself, right? You want to make sure that you make a great first impression. Handshake, eye contact, smiling, strong, those types of things. They're going to ask you questions about yourself. Make sure that you are, very precise in what you say. You want to make sure that you are answering the question exactly, including any of the skills that you have highlighted on your resume, when at all possible. Make sure you're using proper English. Don't use slang. Don't say, yeah, no. It's always yes and no. Keeping eye contact, things like that. We talked before about the questions that you might ask too. Make sure that you're prepared for those. Some of the do's and don'ts is, obviously shaking hands. That's very important when you come in. Make sure you're staying courteous. Make sure you're not chewing gum and that type of thing. Don't make jokes. Don't put anything on their desk. Keep everything, with you. Try not to fidget, playing with your rings, flipping your tie, something like that. Don't badmouth the former employer, some of those things. So they go through all of those topics in this. They're going to also give you information about a model interview. This is what, may or may not happen in real life. What would you do? So let's take a look then at step 7. I'm going to flip to that here real quick. One more second here. Oops. Okay. So in step 7, this is the what to do afterwards, right? The follow-up. You've had the interview, you've left. What do you do next? It's always a great idea to reply to them, and give them a letter right away within 24 hours. Make sure that you let them know you are interested. Address your letter to the person who interviewed you. Remember, you should have asked for a business card, so you should know who that is. Thank them for the interview. Add any information you might have forgotten. Tell them that you're going to call or email or whatever and follow up, and tell them how you're going to do it and when. So those are just some of the different things that you should do first, is that note. So it could be a typewritten, could be handwritten, but if your handwriting is not good, make sure you do it in type. And then once you have done that, then you want to follow up, and when you follow up is kind of dependent upon what you might have said in your letter and or in the interview. Maybe they said, call me on such and such a day, or maybe you said in your letter, I'll touch base on such and such. So, just make sure you do that. Reintroduce yourself, remind them who you are, thank them again for the interview, that type of thing. And then just ask, where are we at with it, and those types of things. So they give you some examples for some notes. They give you some examples of the things to ask when you make that follow-up phone call and things like that. So as you go through this material, if you're unsure or if you have any questions, just make sure you reach out to me. I've definitely been through a few of these, so let me know if there's anything I can help you with, and have a great week.